Tread carefully. Bondi issues chilling warning to Dems over Elon Musk. Let's check it out. Let's see where this takes us, guys. This is a suggestion via Discord. Let's jump into it.
And we begin this Sunday morning with President Trump's agenda and new resistance from Democrats and Democrat-appointed federal judges. The president's deportation flights to Venezuela are resuming this morning.
There we go.
Officials there agreed over the weekend to resume accepting illegal migrants after some 200 Venezuelans accused of being gang members were
261
were deported to El Salvador last weekend and sent to a high-security prison there. And even though most Americans agree with President Trump's tough stance on crime and illegal migration, Democrats want to stop him. Federal Judge James Boasberg, appointed by former President Obama, claims he wants details on the deportation flights after blocking President Trump from using the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to deport the immigrants, a ruling the DOJ has called judicial overreach.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely overreach, but here's the problem, guys. I mean, I knew reading it that there were going to be a lot of judges and lawyers that are going to be coming out of the woodwork looking to specifically sue the government, right? I think we knew that. If you read it word for word, you'll understand immediately that you do have to somewhat declare some type of kerfuffle with the country that you feel as if is invading you, right? But don't get me wrong here. At the same time, the president does have a lot of leeway in deciding, what invasion, means, let's say, to him. But being that it's such a gray area, guys, right? It is a zombie law. It is a law that hasn't kind of been in practice since like the 40s, guys, 1940s. So it's tricky, but let's jump into it.
To deport the immigrants,
I knew it was coming.
A ruling the DOJ has called judicial overreach. Here's the president on Friday.
They're tough people. They're bad people. We don't want them in our country. We can't let a judge say that he wants them. He didn't run for president. He didn't get much more than 80 million votes. And we just can't let that happen.
In addition to Boasberg, 3 other federal judges have ruled against the administration on different cases, including men competing in women's sports and government cuts by DOJ, all by judges appointed by either former Presidents Obama or Biden. As Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is taking a victory lap over the judges' resistance.
We did put 235 judges, progressive judges, judges not under the control of Trump last year on the bench, and they are ruling against Trump time after time after time.
And while judges are doing their part to stop the president, agitators are taking to the streets to vandalize Tesla vehicles in protest of Elon Musk and Doge, with the FBI revealing that Tesla vehicles and dealerships are being targeted with arson, gunfire, and vandalism in at least 9 states. President Trump is promising harsh penalties for these vandals, threatening to send them to jail for up to 20 years, with Attorney General Pam Bondi branding it as domestic. Joining me now, the woman herself in the Sunday Morning Futures exclusive, Attorney General of the United States, Pam.
Guys, jail? Absolutely. 20 years? It depends, guys. I mean, it depends on how much damage is actually being done to the, to the actual property itself, guys. Right?
Bondi. AG, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Maria. Happy Sunday.
And to you. Let me start with those flights to Venezuela. What can you tell us about Judge Boasberg's ruling and whether or not the Supreme Court is going to get involved here?
I can see the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court will get involved.
Yeah, I can see that.
This is an out-of-control judge, a federal judge trying to control our entire foreign policy, and he cannot do it. He dragged us into court on a Saturday without any notice, and then he's continuing these hearings. He's trying to ask us about national security information, which he is absolutely not entitled to. We are appealing. We will be in court Monday again. We will win. We will prevail. There are 261 reasons why Americans are safer today, and that's because those people are now in an El Salvador prison. And we are going to follow the law, and we are going to protect Americans. There's a reason why Biden's approval rating was plummeting because of the border. There's a reason why the current Democrats' approval rating
29%.
is at 29%.
Oh, yeah.
People want to be
Crazy.
safe. This is President Trump's agenda to keep Americans safe, Maria. It's basic public safety. Get these people out of our country as fast as we can. They're not immigrants. They're illegal aliens who are committing the most violent crimes you can imagine on Americans. Murder, rapes. You know, ask the parents of all of these young women who have been violently strangled, raped, and murdered. And we are going to continue to make America safe again because that's President Trump's agenda.
Yeah, and
Okay, guys, by definition, they're definitely immigrants. Definitely, all right? But they're just illegal, so they're illegal immigrants.
Going to continue to make America safe again because
They are
that's
still
President
aliens,
Trump's
though,
agenda.
but they are immigrants.
and we're going to talk with the NYPD commissioner in a few minutes, Jessica Tisch, and I'm going to ask her about the migrant arrests being down and whether or not it's a complete, impact from the president taking these people out of the city. Does this mean, though, that we've stopped shipping people out of the country as we await for resolution here from the Judge Boasberg ruling?
Yeah, but no.
Well, we're continuing with the legal process,
Right.
but we're also continuing to arrest people. We're not going to stop arresting these violent criminals. You know, the Alien Enemies Act applies today really more than ever. You know, old law is often the best law if you think about how the laws that have been on the books for a very long time. We are in modern day warfare. They have invaded our country, TDA, Tren de Agua. They are organized. They have a command structure. They are sending money to each other throughout the country and out of the country back to support their actions. It's modern day warfare, and we are going to continue to fight that and protect American citizens every single step of the way.
The last time we spoke, AG, you said in the next year, in a couple of years, we will not have what's called a sanctuary city. Are you getting resistance from these cities who say, no, we are a sanctuary for illegals?
That's why they're suing them.
Well, sure we are, and we're going to continue to pull their funding. We're going to continue to sue them, and they're going to come around. They're going to have to, because the federal government is going to step in and do the jobs of these cities and states who are refusing to protect their own citizens. I truly cannot comprehend how these states, how these governors want to protect criminals over the rights of their own citizens. These are violent criminals. Crime was through the roof. And now with Donald Trump, it's going to plummet because we're going to get them off the streets if the state governments aren't. So yes, we're going to continue to fight that every step of the way. We will win.
What
fair.
about these vandals on Tesla vehicles and dealerships? Give us the consequences there, and what are you learning once they're arrested? Why are they doing this?
Well,
Social media.
We're looking at so much on this. There have been 3 federal charges so far, and I say so far. We are looking at all of these cases across the country. We have a dedicated task force. These are not isolated incidents, as you know, and these aren't vandals. These are Molotov cocktails. That could be a weapon of mass destruction that they're throwing in Tesla dealerships, that they're lighting these Tesla charging stations on fire that are in residential neighborhoods. I mean, it could cause tremendous damages. And people need to know the 3 people in custody right now, they will receive severe and swift consequences, and they are facing up to 20 years in prison. We are not negotiating these. We are not coming off these charges. We are looking at everything, especially if this is a concerted effort. This is domestic. And Maria, now you have this Congresswoman Crockett who is calling for attacks on Elon Musk on her birthday. Let's take him out on my birthday, she says. Yet she turns and says, oh, I'm not calling for violence. Well, she is an elected public official. And so she needs to tread very carefully because nothing will happen to Elon Musk. And we're going to fight to protect all all of the Tesla owners throughout this country, and it's this basic safety. Once again, domestic is going to come to a stop in our country.
Well, it's just extraordinary to me that you've got this resistance coming back. We saw the resistance in President Trump's first term, but then after that massive win in November where he won the popular vote in all the swing states, and yet now the judicial part of the branches are getting involved. Are you surprised by these judges? Not just Boasberg, we've got 3 others complaining about no men in women's sports and the Doge cuts. Broadly speaking, give us a sense of how you're looking at all of this resistance.
Oh, broadly speaking, we are fighting back every step of the way. We are in court every day fighting against these activist judges. We're not going to stop.
That's exactly what they are, purely activist judges. Like, imagine a judge that doesn't have the actual ability to separate their literal emotion and emotion, basically, from the actual rule of law. Right? That's it. They can't. They see their ideology and then they add their ideology with the law and then say, okay, well, this must mean this. Right, guys? That is a judge.
Of them should be recused from these cases. They will be recused from these cases. We're appealing them. Look at Chuckin. Look at Judge Chuckin with the EPA trying to control our money. Judge Chang trying to control the money of the U.S. aid. Judge Reyes, look what she did to Pete Hegseth. She made personal attacks in court about Pete Hegseth, and she's trying to control military readiness. You can't do this. And then, of course, Boasberg trying to control our foreign policy. These judges are out of control. We are going to fight back, and we are going to win. And the Supreme Court will be ready to hear these cases. Again, these are federal district judges who are trying to control our nation's agenda. And yes, President Trump won the popular vote by an overwhelming majority. Yep. He won the Electoral College, and the people of America want change. And these judges they are losing, and they realize that, and we are going to win.
Hey, AJ, are we going to hear more about the January 6th commission? And what about the Epstein files? A lot of conversation about the Epstein files. And I recognize that when you're dealing with children, it takes much more time. You've got to ensure that what you're sending out publicly is not revealing any personal information. But can you give us a sense of those 2 items and whether or not we'll learn more about them?
Sure. You're going to hear, all I'll say on January 6th, you're going to hear a lot more about the January 6th commission in a very good way. And as to Epstein, yes, you're absolutely right, Maria. Tens of thousands of pages of documents and hundreds of victims of Jeffrey Epstein. Wow. So the FBI, they have been working round the clock at my directive, at Kash Patel's directive. Now Dan Bongino's there, who is a great asset for all of us at the FBI as well. But yeah, we have to protect their identity, their personal information to make sure they're safe. But other than that, we are releasing all of these documents as soon as we can get them redacted to protect the victims of him.
Okay, guys. Okay. I can definitely tell you the Epstein files are definitely going to be heavily redacted, guys. Now, what type of information would I prefer to get from it? It would be great if we had some concrete evidence on who actually, was partaking in some of the craziness. I'm not sure that the flight logs and things like that are going to be that, relevant to the masses. I mean, I'm sure it would. Kind of, potentially, but it won't be that relevant to solving or fixing or getting any type of closure for any of these things. Not really, unless someone is going to actually actively be charged. That would be probably more relevant than anything else, right? If we could actually finally get some information on who will be charged, right? That'll be great, sure. But other than that, I'm not sure what information that they can release, right? That will be relevant, if that makes any sense. Obviously, the victims' names, we don't need that. We don't need it at all. That's not for us to have. I'm sure most of us will be completely fine never knowing, right? But if they know any of the people, they recognize any of the people, that'll be a great thing for us, for the public, let's say, right? But obviously, they're not going to allow any of that to be released. Why? Because then vigilante justice will be happening all throughout the United States of America. So what will they truthfully actually give us when they do release information to the public, right? Because it's still really recent. So the JFK files that were released recently, that gave a lot of information. It did, right? But of course they released that because how long ago was that? That was like 3,000 years ago. Okay, that was the 1900s. Okay, so they can do that. But either way, guys, listen, let me know in the comments what you guys think. You guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly.